Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Live with Roger Hanson. Today is the final episode of my history series for 2023. And as a guest, I will have here shortly Tanhai Tran, and he's here with me to discuss the Amorites. Uh, the time will be spent entirely on what he has to teach us about these people. Okay, I've been curious about them from the time I began to be interested in the Sumerians, which is about 5 or 6 years ago, and from that time, they've been mentioned with the Sumerians, they've been mentioned with the Babylonians and the Assyrians, and I believe last week when we were talking about the Canaanites, they mentioned that the Amorites were mentioned like 90 times in the Old Testament of the Bible. So, right there is something that I knew Tan would be good about because he's been in college learning about religious texts and stuff like that. So I asked him if he would come on to the show for the final episode to kind of give us a history lesson basically on what were the Amorites and what was involved with them, because they really are a mysterious people. Outside of the Old Testament of the Bible, there is material that's written, but it's not very extensive. You do have Hammurabi and the Assyrians who eventually, decimated the Amorites, but other than that, you have brief comments from the Sumerians who mention them in passing, and the Babylonians as well. So there is a history there, but from all the information that I've heard about, the majority of what's written about them does come from the Old Testament of the Bible. So that is kind of what we are here today to talk about. Now, I can give you a brief statement from the Wikipedia about what the Amorites are. The Amorites were an ancient Northwest Semitic-speaking Bronze Age people from the Levant. Initially appearing in Sumerian records circa 2500 BC, they expanded and ruled most of the Levant, Mesopotamia, and parts of Egypt. From the 21st century BC to the late 17th century BC, they established several prominent city-states in existing locations such as Isin, Larsa, Mari, and Ebla, and later founded Babylon and the Old Babylonian Empire. They also founded the 14th dynasty of Egypt in the Nile Delta, which was characterized by rulers bearing Amorite names such as Yakbin, and were likely part of the later Hyksos. The term Amurru in Akkadian and Sumerian texts refer to the Amorite, their principal deity, and the Amorite kingdom. The Amorites are mentioned in the Hebrew Bible as inhabitants of Canaan, both before and after the conquest of the land under Joshua. So that right there is a brief explanation from Wikipedia. At one time I wouldn't have used the Wikipedia as a reference, but here lately I've been going over some stuff in the Encyclopedia Britannica, and some of the stuff there is kind of disturbing to me, like the way things have been changed around and presented, just especially on historic references. They just don't sit right with me, so I'm more lenient about using the Wikipedia today than what I was in the past. So I know it's a Wikipedia article, but that's completely fine with me. So before I get started, I mentioned, or I did a live stream for the Jaffe Ryder from WPRPN, and he is starting up a Operation Secret Santa Claus for the holidays, and it'll be starting, I believe, on the 15th. If you guys are interested in getting involved with that, get in contact with him. I believe he's on YouTube. He's also on Minds, and you can find him at WPRPN right here for information leading to that in Minds chat as well. If you need to find out more about it, you can find out with me live with Roger Hansen. Just tag me in general, Minds general chat or general chat. Just tag Roger Hansen and ask me, and I can get in touch with you. He also has his own Minds Legacy group, which I help out with, sharing stuff on there. And he also has Pirate Radio Podcast, which you can visit, that he can get in touch with you. It might take him a little time because he's not centralized on just Minds. Like I said, he does do YouTube, and I believe he does DLive as well. So he's got a lot of things going on, but he's real serious about people getting involved and doing this project with him. He's real serious about it, so just get in contact with him. If you can't find him all that well, get in contact with me, and I can help you out with that as well. So hello.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you doing? I was just spreading the love, man.
What are you doing?
I was telling everybody about Jaffe's Operation Secret Santa Claus
Okay. All right, good.
before he got here.
Feeling a little bit under the weather, so.
Oh, man. I hope you're alright, man.
I was kind of sick for the last couple of days. It's gotten worse a little bit today, but I hope it gets better.
I hope it does too.
I mean, it will get better.
Okay, so I've got everything going on. Oh wait, what happened?
Have you started the stream? Have you started the recording? What are we doing? We're not doing live today.
Yeah, we are doing live. It's
just,
yeah. I've got to get the Jitsi back up. I'm wanting to get everything set up to where it's showing your face and you give your presentation and stuff. So I got it now. So
okay.
And that way, yeah, there you go. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now, just before we get started, let me say this is your time, okay? This is your presentation. I won't interrupt, and I don't want anybody else to come in and interrupt you, okay?
I think anybody else coming in, welcome, including Robot. I think he usually has some good opinion.
After you get through with it, we can do questions and answers, okay? Just
yeah.
I think that because you've actually gone to college and learned this stuff. You know what I mean?
I've
No.
had that. I did. Yeah, but I did have to review a lot of this stuff. From I mean, it was like so years
So,
ago.
like,
But what I've done is this a lot of stuff about the Amorites,
okay,
uh, and a lot of stuff that people have done covered on over on the internet and over on YouTube and all that stuff. I am just going to go through the what's in the Hebrew Bible and
okay,
going through them,
okay,
um, and then basically, uh, yeah, going
okay.
through different books and giving quotes from the beginning of how they came about, and then to the end of how they to the end of their destruction.
Sounds like a plan. Now,
Yeah.
I've talked my head off already until you got here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to you. Okay, so this is Tan Hai Tran, and it's all yours, Tan.
All right, hello everybody. I prepared a little presentation for Roger's history history live stream, Roger,
Yes.
on the Amorite, and based on what's found in the Bible, more specifically the Old Testament, uh, the Hebrew Bible, or in the Old Testament, in the Christian Bible. I prepared a little presentation here that we can go through step by step. So, uh, is the is everything coming up okay on the live?
Let me go. I can check. I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go check. I'm pretty sure it is, but I can. I just put it into widescreen. Yeah, it's going good. It's going good.
All right. So here we go. Let's start. The Amorites. Who are they? Who were the Amorites? Okay. I For this slides, I've taken a couple of resources from various encyclopedias online. This one from World History, which says they're an ancient Semitic-speaking group of people. They become dominant in the history of Mesopotamia around the second to the first century BC, or millennium BC. They were equated with the people from in the west of Canaan throughout their origin, and they were considered troublesome nomads. So they were nomads who dwelt on the high mountain area, and in Sumerian they were known as the Martu or the Titnum. And you may be also familiar with this since you've talked about the Akkadians before, Roger. They are called the Amurru, or in Egypt, Amar.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they were mentioned in the book of Amos in the Hebrew Bibles as being tall as cedars, strong as oak. So they were like a race of giants, just like a few others in the old Bibles who were described as a giant race. Like the most famous one was Goliath, who faced David. Deuteronomy chapter 3 described them like this, verse 11. uh, mentions Og. Og, king of Bashan, was the last remaining survivor of Rephaim. Uh, he had a bed of iron and 9 regular cubits long and 4 cubits wide. Now
No, that's pretty long.
that's pretty high. So I have in the picture on the right is what the picture I got from the web about what an Amorite warrior would look like. So there.
Yeah.
They are one of the 7 nations in the land of Canaan who became the enemies of the Israelites. Among them were the seven enemies of the Israelites were the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hittites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and the Perizzites.
Man. So the Amorites were the ones that were directly related to David and Goliath. Goliath was an Amorite.
No, I'm not sure if he was. I'm not sure. I don't know. About that. I don't know if Goliath was. But there, 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 there were a few of them that were giants, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
Goliath was one of them, but I don't know if they're the Amalekites were also a race of giants, not mentioned in here, but not sure which one Goliath was. Now, let's go through how where they came from.
Okay.
I've got these things. Where do they come from? Here we go. Genesis chapter 10 describes them as descendants of Noah's son Shem, Ham, and Japheth, okay, to whom the children were born to Noah after the flood. Okay, so starting, I put quotes in here. Verse 1 mentions that they are descendants of Noah. Verse 6 says the descendants of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan.
All right.
Canaan became the father of Sidon, firstborn, and of Het. Also of Canaan also became the father of the Jebusites, the Amorites, and the Girgashites, the Hittites, the Archites, and the Sinites. Right? These. So they were all descendants from Noah. Right? So at one point they were all relatives.
It all started from Canaan.
Yep, and they all started from.
Yep.
It's after what do we got? So verse 17 says the Hivites, the Archites, the Shinites, and the Amorites were all descendants of Canaan. And then afterward, the clans of the Canaanites spread out, so that the Canaanites' border extends from Sidon all the way to Gerar near Gaza, and all the way to Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh yeah. So that'd be right there on the Levant.
I have a map here down here of the Canaanite nations of Genesis chapter 10 and how it relates to modern day. So the this Canaan on the west of the east, the east side of the Mediterranean Sea is there, which is the east of Africa, and the north of it is modern day Europe, and on the right there is Asia. You got slides a little bit out of order. I a lot of time, not a lot of time to prepare this, and I just barely finished it like 10 minutes before this. Um, okay, so we got this. Okay, so Genesis chapter 14, okay, mentions that Abraham, so we knew that they are descendants of Canaan. We also know that Abraham was an ally with the Amorite, or at least one of them. Okay, Genesis chapter 14. I'll read. Now the valley of Siddim was full of bitumen pits, and as the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah fled. So this is when Abraham was about to go into the land of Canaan, and they're in battle with these two lands, Sodom. They fell into these, and while the rest fled to the mountains, the victor seized all the possessions, supplies of Sodom. They took with them Abram's nephew Lot, who had been living in Sodom, as well as his possessions, and they departed. The survivor came and brought news to Abram the Hebrew, who was camping at the Oak of Mamre, the Amorite. So Abram, this name before he became Abram, was staying here at the Oak of Mamre, the Amorite. And Mamre was the kinsman of Eshcol, Aner, and these were allies of Abraham's. Here it's mentioned that Abraham was buddies with one of the Amorites.
Okay.
The rest, just yeah, rest. So we know that Abram was an ally of the Amorites, but what did the Amorites do that was so bad? Right?
Right.
So Genesis chapter 15 mentions some of their sins, and so let's read again. The Lord said to Abram, "Know for certain that your descendants will reside as aliens in the land not their own, where they shall be enslaved and oppressed for 400 years. But I will bring judgment on the nation they must serve, and after this they will go out with great wealth. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace, and you will be buried at a ripe old age. In the fourth generation, your descendants will return here for the wickedness of the Amorites." The sun had set, and it was dark, and the pure smoke came far apart, and the flaming torch passed between those pieces. And on that day, the Lord made a covenant to Abraham, says, "To your descendants I will give this land, from Wadi to Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of Kenites, Perizzites, the Kenizzites, the Cadmonites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, and Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, and the Girgashites." So, yeah. So here, God made a covenant with Abram, that He will give him all this lands of these people who's been doing bad, wicked things, but here God says that their evil deed has not come to its fullness yet. That Abraham had to wait for a bit longer. Okay.
Now
So
that beginning part, that describes Babylon, right? Whenever they were taken into captivity into Babylon.
yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to double check.
Sins of Babylon. Here we go. Okay, part 2. We're in First Kings chapter 21. Alright, So we read in verse 25, indeed, no one gave himself up to doing the evil in the sight of the Lord as did Ahab. So this one we're talking about King Ahab and his wife Jezebel, who he became completely abominable by going after idols, just as the Amorites that the Lord drove out of the Israelite ways. So idolatry was one of the sins of the Amorites. And so when Ahab heard these words, he tore his garment and put on sackcloth over his bare flesh and fasted. So backtrack a little bit. So Ahab just killed a man, um, just killed a man because he wanted his land, and um, with his wife Jezebel's help. And so through a prophet here, Ahab is being told that what his deed was as evil as the Amorites, and going after idols. And yeah, so here we have one mention of what one of his work. So I didn't mention. I don't think I mentioned in here, but the other things that the Amorites practiced were child sacrifice, right? And that was something that's abominable to God as well. And he warned the Israelites before coming to the land of Canaan not to practice their practice. So, so that kind of practices, that child sacrifice or was one of the practices that the Amorites did. Okay. Now, did this already?
Yeah, you already did that one.
This. We also do this.
I think that's the next one.
Yeah, I think I missed. I got the sequence out of alignment where this is the second part of who were the Emirates. Well, let's go back to them a little bit. Go through this here. Book of Numbers, chapter 13. The Lord said to Moses, send men to reconnoiter the land of Canaan, which I'm giving the Israelites. You shall send one man for each ancestral tribe, called one leader among them. So Moses sent them to the wilderness of Paran at the direction of the Lord. All of them were leaders among the Israelites, and they returned from their reconnoitering the land 40 days later, proceeding directly to Moses and Aaron, the whole community of the Israelites in the wilderness of the Paran at Kadesh. They made a report to them and to the whole community, showing them the fruit of the land. They told Moses, we came to the land to which you send us. It does indeed flow with milk and here is its fruit. However, the people who are living in the land are powerful, and the towns are fortified very large. Besides, we saw descendants of Anak. The Amalekites live in the regions of Negeb. Hittites, Jebusites, the Amorites dwell in the highland. Okay, so in here we learn that the Amorites are the highland, high mountain dweller, and the Canaanites along the sea bank, the Jordan. So again, so in I've seen that the Amorites and the Canaanites were sometimes used interchangeably, right? But
Yeah.
they are like one of the seven nations of the Canaanites. Like I don't know if they're the strongest. Maybe they were. Uh, Based on your other histories sessions that you did before from non-religious texts, they seems like they will become very powerful and they built very large empire
Yeah.
until yeah, they seems like they did very well until they were smoked out by the Israelites. Okay. Amalekites in the region. Caleb, however, quieted the people before Moses and said, "We ought to go up and seize the land, for we can certainly prevail over it." But the man who had gone up with him said, "We cannot attack these people. They are too strong for us." They spread discouraging report among the Israelites about the land they reconnoitered, saying, "The land that we went through and reconnoitered is the land that consumes its inhabitants, and all the people we saw there are huge." All
Yeah.
right, so they were trying to spread rumors that these people were giants, but maybe they're not that far from the truth because they were the Nephilim. Uh, I think this is where I found where they are mentioned.
Hmm. Now
Nephilim, where they're
this was when Moses was traveling through the wilderness, right, with the Israelites, and
No,
he's
this is after they're going after the wilderness and they're about to go into the land of Canaan.
oh, they're going into the land of Canaan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is they're about to go into the land, and so Moses sent some spy to go in
Yeah.
and scout, right? Scout out the land, and the spies came back with the news. All
All
right,
right.
all right. So okay, so okay. I think were we here? Did we do this? Yeah, we
Yeah.
did this.
Oh, actually, I don't think you did that one.
No, I think it did. We're talking about Ahab here. Talking about Ahab
Yeah,
and
you
how
did.
his sins were similar to the Amorite sin.
Yep. That was it.
All right, and now we go to the destruction of Ammon. In the book of Joshua, chapter 10, it mentions pretty, narrates pretty details how the five kings of the Amorites were slaughtered. I think they were, what's now the Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured Ai and put it under the ban, and had done to that city and its king as he had done to Jericho and its king. And that inhabitants of Gibeon had made their peace with Israel and remaining among them. There was great fear abroad because Gibeon was a great city, like one of the royal cities, greater even than Ai, and all its men were warriors. So Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Hoham, king of Hebron, Piram, king of Jarmuth, Japhia, king of Lachish, and Debir, king of Eglon, with this message: "Come, help me attack Gibeon, for it has made peace with Joshua and the Israelites." The five Amorite kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon gathered all their forces and marched against Gibeon to make war on it. Okay, so the Amorite kings were on the attack. They're attacking the Israelites. Thereupon the Gibeonites sent an appeal to Joshua to his camp at Gilgal, Do not abandon your servant. Come up here quickly and save us. Help us because all the Amorite kings of the mountain countries have joined together against us.
Okay. Now Gilgal. Um, do you know anything about that? Because that sticks out to me.
No, I haven't researched much into that. What? Tell me. What?
I can't like the name. I know I've heard it before, so I was hoping maybe you knew it
Well,
because
this is probably where the five Amorite kings got destroyed.
yeah, it could have been Gilgal.
Yeah.
That that's a big part in the Old Testament too. It's where they cut their thumbs off.
Mm, yeah. So continuing, Joshua 10.
Okay.
So Joshua marched up to Gilgal and his army and all his warriors. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not fear them, for I have delivered them unto your power. Not one of them will be able to withstand." So these five Amorites, the Amorite kingdoms were powerful, right? And we have here five Amorite kings banding together to go against the Israelites, right?
Uh-huh.
Because this is like the David and Goliath story all over. And so they should have smoked the Israelites right then. But so this is why the God tried to comfort Joshua and his people. So after an all-night march from Gilgal, Joshua made a surprise attack upon them, and the Lord threw them into disorder before Israel. The Israelites inflicted a great slaughter on them at Gibeon and pursued them down the Hebron, the Beth Horon slope, attacking them as far as Azekah and Makkedah. While they fled before Israel along the descent of Beth Horon, the Lord hurled great stones from the heaven. So there was this storm from heaven above them all the way to Azekah, killing men. More died from these hailstones than Israelites killed with the sword. It was then, when the Lord delivered up the Amorites to the Israelites, that Joshua prayed to the Lord and said, in the presence of Israel, so Joshua said, "Sun, stand still at Gibeon, moon in the valley of Aijalon. The sun stood still, moon stayed, while the nation took vengeance on its." Hey.
Yeah.
Continuing. The five kings who had fled hid in the cave of Makkedah. When Joshua was told, "Thy king has been found hiding in the cave of Makkedah," he said, "Roll large stones to the mouth of the cave, post guard over, but do not remain there yourselves. Pursue your enemies and harry them in the rear. Do not allow them to reach their cities, for the Lord your God has delivered them into your power." Once Joshua and the Israelites finally inflicted the last blows in this very great slaughter, the survivors had escaped from them into the fortified city. All the armies returned to Joshua in the camp at Makkedah in victory. No one uttered a sound against us. Then Joshua said, "Open the mouth of the cave. Bring me those five kings from the cave." And they did so, brought out to him from the cave the five kings of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. When they brought the five kings out to Joshua, he summoned all the armies of Israel and said to the commanders of the soldiers who had marched with him, "Come forward and put your feet on the necks of these kings." And they came forward and put their feet upon their necks. And Joshua said to them, Do not be afraid or dismayed. Be firm and steadfast. This is what the Lord will do to all enemies against whom you fight. Thereupon Joshua struck and killed the king and hanged them on 5 trees, where they remained hanging until evening.
Yeah, it's interesting. They said 5 trees there. I've heard also mentioned like 5 thumbs. You know,
They
I don't-
hang the thumbs?
it was they got their 5 thumbs cut off and they were sent back. It wasn't this one because these guys were killed, but
Yeah.
there was another confrontation where instead of killing them, they cut their thumbs off and sent them back to their lands. So
Were they also the Amorites?
no, I don't think they were.
Maybe something else.
But
Okay.
that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking whenever you were saying that. It was, or before you
Yeah.
got to this part, that's what I was thinking this was, but it's not.
Okay. Well, I think that is all I read, at least to the end of the Amorite. I think after this time, after this, there were no signs of the Amorite in history. After that, but there
So
was
with what's his face, Hammurabi, with his
Oh, yeah.
thing. What's your take on that with the Assyrians? Because like he made the claim that he was the one that finally defeated the Amorites and desecrated their kingdom and everything, and
Hammurabi.
yeah.
I've read vaguely on Hammurabi. I thought that was the code.
Yeah, it was in the code. He was
was
the code of Hammurabi. He mentions defeating the Amorites and sent. He ended up having them march to their death, according to what he says. So,
Hey, can we go through? You have the source of that?
oh God, it's in the tablets. Just the code of just write the code of Hammurabi or the Amorites code of Hammurabi. The Amorite ruler Hammurabi, crowned king of Babylon. Well, yeah, see,
But he was an Amorite though.
yeah,
How did he destroy his own people?
that's interesting. The Assyrians,
Yeah.
I know, was the ones who defeated them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was both
So,
an avid
he's a king.
warrior and shrewd administrator who honored the tradition of
Sumer,
Akkad
Akkad.
and the other.
So, but
lands.
this is from National Geographic. I'm not sure I read that, but it did say he's a Babylonian king.
I hate when they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I wouldn't say it was Assurbanipal who did it. Maybe I don't know for sure who it was, but they're the ones that I know. The Amorites were the ones who actually were the ones who founded Babylon,
Mm-hmm.
and they also.
So I thought, yeah, I thought that Hammurabi was an Amorite, and that was part of the greatness of their civilizations, where they have this code.
Well, his code was one of the first actual like laws that were set down.
Yeah,
Is the legal
Babylonian
text.
legal text. Yeah.
How did he die though? That would be the interesting part. Like his the ending of his life.
Hammurabi. Okay. See.
Early scholarship prologue.
Oh,
These are all the laws he had.
Theories.
Yeah. They're focusing more on the laws and everything that he had in there.
The judgment of Murphy. Yeah. You talked about the Code of Hammurabi in one of your episodes, didn't you?
Mm, I don't know if I did in this one or if it was in my streams before when I did my narrations. It was in one or the other, but I know that we covered the Canaanites, and then before that the Phoenicians, and like a lot of the stuff from the Phoenicians and the Canaanites, because they're both intermingled, kind of dove into most of the Sumerians and the Akkadians. But like right here, what you're talking about, that kind of opens up a lot of stuff, because now I didn't realize until just now that it was the freaking the Amorites who were the ones that founded Babylon.
Yep, yep. I
Until
thought they were. And so Hammurabi was reigned from 1792 to 1750 BC. When did the
oh yeah, okay, in the 16th century BC, the Amorite era ended in Mesopotamia with the decline and the fall of Babylon and other Amorite-ruled cities. The Kassites occupied. Okay, so
This is
see,
after him, probably.
yeah, I knew the Kassites. I knew all about them, but I didn't know the Amorites were the ones who ruled Babylon.
Yep, they were, and it looks like Hammurabi is one of them. You could, he was one of the great emperors that started the Babylon.
Right down there where it says, who were the Amorites destroyed by? That right there will answer our question. Right, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth one right there.
Okay.
The biblical Amorites are known to be the enemies of Israel.
Of the Israelite.
The 5 kings of the Amorites are mentioned as having been destroyed in the battle of Joshua.
And this is what I just went through at the last flight. Yeah, they were 5 kings that were destroyed. I thought that was the last sight of them.
That's pretty interesting.
When were they destroyed? I mean,
that would explain too a lot of the bad blood between the Jewish and the Babylonians as well. Why they were brought into captivity, because if they were battling against each other for that long amount of time, you know what I mean?
I guess so. Yeah.
They did not get along at all.
Yeah.
And see, like, from what I've heard is one of the Jewish kings sent an offensive message to the Babylonians, and when he read it, that's what prompted him into attacking Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's there's that source in the Bible where it said where all the 5 Babylonian kings or the Amorite kings were conspiring together to go after the Israelites.
Well, see, my favorite though is Amos. Like whenever you read about Amos and his warnings to the Israelites,
Mm,
before it happened. Uh,
mm.
I think that's pretty profound.
Uh, yeah, where I think I briefly mentioned Amos, the first slide. Which verse are you thinking about in particular?
Oh,
Amos.
Amos from the Bible. Like, there's tons of Amos's. Bible Amos.
Uh,
Just type in Amos. It'll give you. No, it says Amos 29:11. Go up right there. Let me read that first one up above.
no, this is Amos 2:9-11.
That's the.
No, this was must have been after that. Whatever warning you were thinking of. This is there where they say they have destroyed. God told Amos that he had destroyed the empire.
Okay. No, the one that I was talking about was where he was talking about the Israelites using or creating what are they called? Where you do sacrifices outside.
Uh, the book of Amos. Yeah, just sacrifice.
Sacrificing to
For
altars.
Passover, right?
They were using altars to sacrifice to Canaanite
It's like,
gods.
oh, the child sacrifice. Yeah? Yeah.
I don't know for sure if it was mentioning that. It was the altars they were using. He called them false idols and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, Moloch. So,
Right. Hold up.
the Canaanite did child sacrifice.
No.
They abort their babies as well.
Very. Hold up right here where it says 525. That's.
It's here. No. It's just
Okay. Yeah. That's just
sacrificing of lamb and goat.
Yeah. What it was is he was talking about the sins of the Israelites, and he said that
Or
because
they were warning
he
the Israelites about the sins of the Canaanites.
no, it's like they were
Yeah.
actually like participating in it, and he straying away from God, and he said that because of that, eventually they would be conquered by. At the time, he didn't mention Babylon, but he said that they would be conquered by an enemy, and they would be held in captivity away from Israel for. He even said it 40 years. Yeah, there you go. Amos
One.
warned the Israelites that they would be destroyed if they did not repent. He prophesied that because the
Nope.
Israelites had rejected the Lord's prophets, and the Lord would remove the prophets from among them. Amos, yeah, that right
Sorry,
there.
Amos 1. Amos chapter 1.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that would be it.
Huh?
Oh, you lost your internet. Didn't even catch that. I said, oops, you lost your internet.
No, it came back up as quickly as you said it.
Usually it's like does it to me too, where it does a little hiccup.
The words of Amos, one of the shepherds of Tekoa, vision saw concerning Israel 2 years before the earthquake when Uzziah, the king of Judah, son of Jehoash was.
Jeroboam. Yep.
He said, "The Lord roars from Zion and thunders from Jerusalem. Pastures of the shepherds dry up, and top wither."
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's one of my favorite readings out of there. Everybody thinks I'm pretty harsh when I
Just
mention it.
judgment on Israel's neighbor. This is what the Lord said.
Hmm.
For 3 sins of Damascus, even for 4 I will not relent, because she threshed Gilead with slashes of having iron teeth. I will send fire on the house of Hazael that will consume the fortresses of Ben-Hadad, will break down the gates of Damascus, destroy the king who is in the valley of Aven, and the one who holds the scepter in Ben-Eden. People of Aram go into exile to Pur. For 3 sins of Gaza, even 4 I will not relent. She took captives whole communities and sold them to Edom. Send fires on the walls of Gaza that consumed her fortresses, destroy the king of Ashdod, and the one who holds the scepter of Ashkelon. I will turn my hand against Ekron till the last of the Philistines are dead. For 3 sins of Tyre. So through Amos, God is pronouncing judgment on all these sinful nations. Yeah. For the sins of Ammon. I wonder if these Ammonites, right?
Yeah.
The inhabitants of Ammon, they are different from the Amorites, right? They're the Ammonites are not the same as the Amorites.
Well, it says the walls of Rabbah, and that was what you were just reading right there. The walls of Rabbah. Right there, I will set fire to the walls of Rabbah.
Right. That would consume them for you go to exile. Okay. Where are the Amorites mentioned it?
That's probably what they are. The
Ammon.
the Ammon. Yeah. Because that's what I was saying. Like what with your presentation, you were just talking about the wall or Rabbah. It was one of the words that popped up. So
the walls of Rabbah.
Fires to the walls. I will set fire to the walls of Rabbah that will consume her fortresses.
All right. Yes.
Yeah.
The sins of Moab, sins of Judah, sins of Israel.
Yeah. Amos was in a very
in a bad mood.
Yeah, he wasn't a very positive speaking person. A lot of people didn't want to hear him because he was preaching the fiery stones and brimstone or.
Well, this is the similar kind of narration that you would find in the New Testament in the book of Revelation after Christ established his church, and after a while, they were doing okay for a while, but then there are 7 churches that they had, but some of them start to stray from the path. Mm-hmm. And so, in the book of Revelation, they send it goes like, "This is the Alpha. I'm the Alpha. I'm the Omega. Gave my warning to these 7 churches. I'm happy that you did this and this, but I hold it against you that you did not do this and that."
Yeah.
So the book of Amos.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I really got into though. Whenever I was getting into that area, I was just about to finish up on the walls of Jericho.
Okay.
And I never, I already done the New Testament. I started doing I finished that. Then I started from the beginning, and by the time I got to freaking the walls of Jericho, I was already burned out because Leviticus. You got to be a madman to freaking say that you
Yeah,
enjoy Leviticus. I
yeah,
don't care who you are. If
yeah.
that is some hardcore reading right there, man.
But
So.
let's talk about the Amorites' destruction for a second, right? You
Mhm.
know, why you can like from a non Jewish slash non Christian's point of view, you can ask why would a loving God destroy a whole race, right? Right? Like why would a loving God be bent on committing Jewish genocide? Yeah, and and the answer is um you know how so there are two sides to the uh there are two aspects of God. One's being justice and the other part being mercy, right?
Mhm.
Um, and so in the Old Testament, the people of God, Israelites, or the chosen people of God, they were like um, it's like um how you treat uh, uh an infant child. First, start to feed it with milk, and then you learn to over time you start giving it solid food to get him used to it before you put him full time on solid food. If a baby was born and you stuffed solid food into him, he would probably not be able to deal with it. But this is the same kind of uh, dealing that God deals with His people when they're in the Old Testament. They were infantile, they're uncivilized, and they need to learn about justice first before God can come down to teach them about His mercy. So the justice of God is that the message of justice is that the wage of sin is death, right? I mean, if God is the God of life, anything that's opposing life is death, right? So if you go against the source of life itself, then it's the end for you, and that's the it doesn't mean it's like a cruel judgment or something. That's just a fact uh of mm, of how everything is in the universe, right? Like you put your hand into electrical socket, you'll get shocked,
Yeah.
right? Just natural. And so the Israelite needs to learn before Jesus came that yep, if you're and you if you violate God's law, then the end result is death. And you can see some of that judgment pretty immediate. Okay, the judgment on the Amorite were long and delayed. They had like, it was all drawn out, and you saw me quoting in one of the verse. It was said that their sins have not reached its peak yet, so they were not being destroyed because and the Israelite had a chance to destroy them before when they sent in the spies, um, and they were planning on how they could take them out, but the message was that it's not the time yet. and so there the Amorite judgment was delayed, right? But we saw somewhere else in the Old Testament where people committed a sin and they were killed instantly. Right? I think it was during the King David's reign where uh, some of the carrier of the Ark of the Covenant, like they stumble or something, they stumble and they cause the covenant to shake, and then he was killed instantly.
Hmm.
Uh, just like where's that? That Onan, the famous story about Onan spilling a seed on the ground, right? When he's having sexual relations with his the wife of his brother to try to give him because he died or something and didn't have any descendant. And Onan decided to spill his seed on the ground instead of spilling his seed in um, his brother's wife, right? And he was killed instantly. Um, so, uh, so that is the 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 essence of God's justice that the Israelite had to learn that you go against nature, you get hurt, and sometimes kill you. And I think we still that consequence is still going on until today. Today, when you're doing something that's unnatural, you might enjoy it in the short term, but in the long term, there's harm that is being done. Maybe not immediately, but bit by bit, is doing damage to your body, to your soul, to it impacts your loved ones. Mm, You may not notice it, but over time the effects accumulate, and you will see it. So that's why there are a lot of unhappiness in the families today, because people are um, they're doing stuff they're um, not helpful to the unity of the family. But all I can say. But then, so that's the Old Testament. In the New Testament, Jesus then came to teach the Israelite about His mercy, right? And even though they have sinned and gone astray, they have offended their Creator so many times that even their own they don't. It's not their own doing is not enough to repay for the offenses that they have done. Right? So even their death is not enough to pay for the sin that they have committed over the ages, and that's why God Himself has to come down and atone for their sins by offering Himself up as payment for their debt. And that's the mercy that God teaches in the final days. Through
That's perfect. So, how much time have we spent, by the way? Have we done at least an hour?
Yep, I think we're 7:09, 7:10 here my time, so I think we're just about an hour. How much time do you have on your live stream going through?
I've got you on full screen. You got full attention, like I said, man. I mean, I haven't even been. Oh wow, an hour and 25 minutes. We did good.
Okay.
An hour and
I
9
mean, like I
minutes.
said, I started to research into to review these Amorites, and I became overwhelmed on how much material there are.
Yeah.
So I think we're just briefly scratching through the surface. Yeah, right. We haven't talked about how they have. I mean, I've only relied on biblical sources, right? We haven't talked about how they, as a civilization, have developed and become so powerful that they were actually feared by the Israel. It's that it's unheard of that they end up getting destroyed by the Israelites, but they are the stronger one. They should have been the one that smoked out. This,
It is pretty interesting, and from what I've heard, though, don't quote me on it, but from what I've heard, the Bible has the most extensive amount of information when it comes to the Amorites. It was like I was telling you about with the Sumerians and everything. Like they have very little information concerning these Amorites. I wasn't even aware that the Amorites were the ones who founded Babylon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That just
Yeah.
kind of threw me off right there.
Yeah. So maybe maybe we need to do a part 3 to deep dive into their civilization a little
Well,
in the new year.
I'll tell you what, man. We'll try to get some stuff going on it and get things set up. I wanted to end this one with the Amorites because, like with my history, everything leads back to the Amorites. And I know that sounds weird, and I know how the Bible portrays them.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, they are not Israel's greatest enemy,
right?
But they're one of the big ones.
Yeah. But it's like the Sumerians talked about them. Not the Akkadians talked about them, then the Assyrians talked about them, but they don't even come close to the amount of information that the Jews had in their Old Testament or the Torah. Like I think they said that they were mentioned 90 times in the Old Testament. That's a big deal because they don't mention stuff that many times in the Old Testament. It's usually maybe like 5 or 10 times, but that's about the best you can get.
Yeah, I have an electronic Bible. I could search for a few times they mentioned, but yeah, I think you're about.
The other day we were talking about them, and they said they were mentioned. I think it was 90. If it wasn't, it was about 60.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so should we end the stream?
Yeah, we can do that. So thank you very much for being here, Tan, and I appreciate the research you did, and we'll set something up to do a part 2 to this. This is actually part 1, so.
Okay.
And
all right,
we'll get things going and talk about it later. And thank you for being here, bud.
No problem, man.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.